used to sit in the salon chair and just say, whatever you think, and then go home and cry in my car. 5 haircuts changed that for me, and they're the same 5 I want to walk you through right now, one at a time. Each one does something specific, softens your face, adds movement, gives you back that light-catching shine that flat hair steals from you. I researched the best haircuts and styling fixes for women over 60 so you get real, tested results instead of guesswork. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every single week. Part 1. The soft layered bob. Here's something most stylists won't say out loud in the chair. Past 60, one length isn't neutral. It's aging you. Hair that hangs the same length all the way around pulls your whole face down with it. The jaw, the cheeks, everything reads heavier than it is. I know that moment. You look in the mirror after a trim and it's technically fresh, but somehow you look tired anyway. That's not your face. That's the cut. The fix is the soft layered bob, chin to collarbone length, layers cut around the face rather than through the ends. This works because layers create movement, and movement catches light. Flat hair absorbs light and looks dull no matter the color. Layered hair bounces light back at different angles, which is exactly what gives skin that lifted, glowing look people compliment you on without knowing why. Here's how you ask for it specifically. Tell your stylist face framing layers, starting at the cheekbone, keep the length at the collarbone. Not some layers. That's vague enough to get you 3 layers cut into a foot of hair, which changes nothing. Ask for the layers to start high, right around your cheekbone, so the shortest pieces sit exactly where they'll do the most work. The result shows up almost immediately. Your jawline gets a soft frame instead of a hard drop-off. Your cheeks catch light instead of shadow. And because the ends aren't all one heavy weight anymore, the whole shape swings when you move your head, which reads, to everyone watching, as younger. Not because you look different, because you look alive. There's a version of this I did for my aunt last spring. She'd had the same one-length cut for maybe 15 years, said she didn't recognize herself walking out of the salon. Not because the stylist changed anything drastic. Just the layers, just the light. The before and after here is stark. Before, one-length hair past the shoulders, heavy at the ends, sitting flat against the face. After, chin to collarbone layered bob, face framing pieces swinging free, visible lift through the whole silhouette. Now the bob is the fix for flatness. But there's a second cut that solves a completely different problem. What happens when your hair has gone thin at the crown and no amount of layering fixes that? That's next. Part 2. The textured pixie with length on top. Most women think a pixie cut means going short and staying short forever, no options. That's not true, and it's the biggest reason women avoid a cut that would actually solve their thinning crown problem. If you've noticed your part looking wider than it used to, or your crown catching light in a way that shows more scalp than hair, you're not imagining it. Hair genuinely thins there first, for most women, starting in the 50s and continuing on. The fix is a textured pixie with length left on top, short and tapered at the sides and back, but 2 to 3 inches kept up top so you can style it with volume, texture, even sweep it slightly to one side. This works because short sides remove the weight that was dragging the top hair down flat against your scalp. Once that weight is gone, the top hair can actually stand up and create the illusion of density, even if the hair count hasn't changed at all. Ask for it this way. Short tapered sides, 2 to 3 inches left on top, textured with a razor not scissors. The razor detail matters. A razor cut texture creates soft, piecewise ends that support each other and stand up, where blunt scissor ends just flop. The result is a complete reversal of the exact thing you were worried about. Instead of a wide, visible part showing scalp, you get a textured top that reads as thick and deliberate. And there's a confidence shift that comes with it too. Short hair on a woman past 60 reads as decisive, styled, put together. People stop seeing thinning hair and start seeing her look. I had a client tell me she got stopped in a grocery store parking lot by a stranger who said her hair looked like something out of a magazine. This was 6 weeks after she'd nearly cried at the idea of cutting it short. That's the swing this cut creates. Before, long hair with a visibly widening part and flat, thin-looking crown. After, short tapered pixie with textured volume on top, no visible scalp, sharp and intentional. But maybe short isn't you, and that's completely fair. There's a cut for the woman who wants to keep her length and still fix the exact same problem. And it's smarter than you'd think. Part 3. Long layers with a curtain fringe. Here's the part nobody explains well. Keeping your length past 60 isn't the problem. Keeping it exactly the way you wore it at 40 is the problem. Same length, same part, same everything, while your face shape has quietly shifted underneath it. You feel it more than you see it, usually. Something about your reflection feels off, even though nothing dramatic happened. It's not one big change. It's your bone structure settling slightly, your face softening at the jaw, and hair that was cut for a different decade not adjusting with you. The fix is long layers combined with a curtain fringe, layers starting around the chin to keep movement through the length, and a soft fringe parted in the center that sweeps to both sides rather than sitting blunt across the forehead. This works because a curtain fringe does something almost no other haircut element does. It draws the eye immediately to the cheekbones and eyes, away from any softening along the jaw. Tell your stylist exactly this. Keep the length, add layers starting at the chin, cut a curtain fringe parted at the center. The word curtain matters specifically. It's the difference between a heavy, blunt bang that ages you and a soft, swept fringe that lifts you. The snapback here is real and immediate. The moment that fringe is cut and swept to the side, your eyes become the first thing anyone sees, not your forehead lines, not your jaw. Framing does that work instantly, no product, no styling skill required. It's the fastest single change on this list in terms of visible impact per minute in the chair. My neighbor did this 2 years ago after wearing the same middle-parted long hair since her 30s. She said the fringe alone made her stop pulling her hair back to look neater. She finally liked wearing it down again. Before, long hair, no fringe, same length and part held for decades. After, long layered hair with a soft curtain fringe swept from a center part, framing the eyes. There's one more cut left, though, that solves something none of these three have touched yet. What to do when your hair has actually gone completely gray, and you want the cut to work with that, not against it. Part 4. The shag with silver enhancing layers. Gray hair has a texture problem most women never get told about. It's coarser, it's often more resistant to lying flat, and it doesn't reflect light the same way pigmented hair does. Which means a cut that looked beautiful on your color years ago can look completely dull now, on the exact same head. If your gray hair feels flat or dull, no matter what shampoo you switch to, that's not a product problem. That's a cut problem, and it's been mislabeled as a hair color problem for years. The fix is a modern shag, heavily layered throughout, choppy ends, cut to create deliberate texture rather than smoothness. This works because gray hair actually reflects light beautifully when it has texture to catch it at different angles. Smooth, flat gray hair looks dull. Textured, layered gray hair looks silver and luminous, almost metallic in the right light. Ask for it this way. Heavy layers throughout, choppy ends, texturized with thinning shears for movement. That last detail, thinning shears, is what separates a shag that looks intentional from one that just looks messy. It removes bulk without removing length, so the texture reads as styled rather than accidental. The change here goes beyond the hair itself. Gray hair styled with real texture reads as a choice, not a surrender. There's a very specific shift in how people respond to a woman with deliberately textured silver hair versus flat gray hair. The first reads as elegant and intentional, the second reads as simply not dyed. Same color, completely different message. A woman in one of my local styling groups switched to this exact cut after 18 months of flat gray she said made her feel invisible. 6 weeks in, she posted that a barista complimented her hair for the first time in years, unprompted. Before, flat, smooth gray hair with minimal texture, appearing dull under normal light. After, heavily layered shag with choppy texture, gray hair catching light and appearing silver and luminous. One cut left, and it might be the most versatile one on this entire list. The one that works whether you're headed to the office or a wedding, without a single change. Part 5. The rounded lob with invisible layers. Here's the last thing to know, and it might be the most useful. The haircut that photographs the best isn't always the one that's easiest to live with day to day. Most women past 60 aren't choosing between beautiful and practical anymore. They want both, every single morning, without a 20-minute styling routine. That's the gap this final cut fills. If you've loved a bob but found it either too blunt and severe, or too soft and shapeless once you add layers, you've run into the exact problem this one solves. The fix is a rounded lob with invisible layers. Length just past the shoulder, cut in a soft rounded shape rather than a blunt line. With layers cut internally so they don't show as separate pieces but instead add shape and bounce from underneath. This works because invisible layers give you the movement of a layered cut with the clean, polished look of a blunt one. You get both effects without choosing. Ask your stylist for a rounded lob, just past the shoulder, with internal layers cut underneath, not through the visible ends. That phrase, internal layers, tells them exactly what you want: shape and movement from the inside, a clean unbroken line on the outside. The payoff shows up the moment you towel dry it. This cut falls into shape almost on its own. Round brush optional, because the internal layers are doing the shaping work for you. That's the real luxury here. You walk out looking done, polished, expensive, on a 5-minute routine. People read that kind of effortless polish as elegance, every time, because it actually is elegance. A woman I know switched to this after years of a straight blunt bob that she said looked fine but took forever. She told me last month it's the first haircut she's had in a decade that she never once thought about changing. Before, straight blunt bob with a hard-edged line and no internal shaping. After, rounded lob with invisible internal layers, soft shape, natural bounce. 5 cuts, 5 completely different problems solved, and every single one of them starts the same way, with one honest conversation in the chair. You now know exactly which cut fixes which problem: flatness, thinning at the crown, a jawline that's softened, dull gray texture, or a bob that never quite falls right. That's not guesswork anymore, that's a plan. Which one of these 5 are you walking into your next appointment asking for? Tell me in the comments, I read every one. Next week I'm breaking down the exact words to use with your colorist, so you never leave the salon disappointed again. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Beauty, and I'll see you in the next one.